I'm going to change the sort of intro to future videos, so we're now going to say hello rather than greetings. And I'll give you an explanation of what hello is. It's just basically initials of four Latin names of motets by Anton Bruckner, but put together they string together a sentence, which is hello, as a sort of friendly sort of opening. So the A is Asperger's me. I think most of you know what Asperger's is in terms of a sort of medical psychologist's diagnosis, for example, but it actually means purify me. Sort of a Roman Catholic used thing, but I'm not going to put in any attachment to it. I use it in my own perception of it. So Asperger's me, libera me, free me, locus iste, this place, os justi, of justice, of basically the voice of God, the mouth of God, as it were. So hello. That's my sort of little, using my imagination and creating something with words. And giving it a new meaning, a new perspective. That's exactly what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it as always by putting it into a context that you can readily associate with. Now, depending on your physical height, now I'm 6 foot, so anybody sort of 6'6" or taller, although they're rare, there are such people, 7 foot tall, you may have seen or may not, or you've seen in photographs, but I think it's fair to say that they look like a giant. Incidentally, we're on a roll today. This is third video, but of course, all things come in threes. It's a trinity. Last video, for example, I was talking about the back of the dollar bill and that pyramid and the all-seeing eye. Well, your two temples and your top of your crown, top of your head, makes a triangle. So that's your upper triangle. The Jesus, the He is us, that represents all man, that is asking why, doing that Y shape of the, this is the crux, the crucifixion. The crucible is a little vessel, little cup, a little grail. So when you put the two together, you've got the Star of David. If you overlap them, you've got your base-to-base triangles, base-to-base pyramids. You become a diamond when you join those together. You could express it as one being black and one being white, a sort of variation on yin and yang with straightened out lines, for example. Anyway, digress slightly, but giants. So in a physical perspective, you've got someone standing in front of you who's sort of maybe a foot taller. They look like a giant. I want you to use a little bit of imagination here now. Consider your chakra system where it starts. It's sort of an amusing thought going with that cold Christ depiction. It's the two legs and the one nail, and I've said that you've got two souls because it represents this duality perceived realm. But of course, when we're talking about the chakra system, the root is our soul. It's still a soul. It's the soul of Ra. It's representing your 7 chakras. Ride the snake to the lake. It's 7 miles long in the Doors song, for example. All allegory references. I'll get to the point in a minute. I really will. So, if we were to give, and do you need you to use your imagination because it is not physically possible to bring this out into a physical form. We're talking about an essence, we're talking about something spiritual here, your spiritual essence. Your 7 chakras But if you consider your height, your physical height here, so it doesn't matter how tall you are, but if you take those 7 chakras out of yourself and were able to give them a physical form, it would probably be slightly over half your height. It would only come up to, say, waist height, level with your solar plexus. And from a perspective of that, looking up at you, the physical being, would seem like a giant. There's sort of a bit of a David and Goliath ratio going on there. So do giants exist? The answer is very much yes. What has been hidden is the perception of a giant. Anything that resembles you, that it is several feet taller, is going to look like a giant. So you can see that when you compare your height to other people, and you've got somebody who's exceptionally tall, they do stand out. If you were to stand close to them and you were looking up at them, you'd think, my God, that's a giant. But of course, with the biblical story, as with so much else, it is all allegory, it is all a metaphor. The Goliath, the giant that you have to overcome, is that lower conscious mind, that thing that is trying to convince you that what you see in the mirror is you. But it is only a physical housing, it is only a host body for the Christ and the hosts. The Christ is your true being, your consciousness that you walk with when you are in alignment with it. And it is housed in a physical body, so you are walking with the Christ. You become a Christ, you become a living Christ. Don't be fooled to look for anything external of yourself. Anything I say of myself is equally true of you. And when I say myself, I am talking about my physical external covering, which is distinct from I, who is very distinct from who I am. The name of the Creator forever and ever is I am. When you join in a union with another physical being of the opposite sex, and you create a new life, one, it is being created in the unseen. It would seemingly to begin from nothing. And just like a seed in the plant kingdom, the shell has to split open for that seed, that shoot, to go towards the light. And of course you have an internal tree, as Rudolf Steiner says. You are upside down plant man, because your root ball, which is basically the brains, the minds, when we're talking about the physical part, that tree is rooting downwards, or it would also resemble branches because one mirrors the other, so it's going downwards. But of course, so does the Christ consciousness within you. It is in the solar plexus, the place of the sun, symbolized by the colour yellow. But of course it has to fall through the orange into the red to the root, because we always have to get to the root of something. The our soul, the Ra soul. Like everything else, our soul has been given a physical label, and it is also used in a very negative way as an insult, and so on and so on. And then of course you've got the twist with the particularly associated with Roman Catholic priests, of course. We won't go into that. That's rather unpleasant and not something to even dwell on. It would imply that it involves children. Bring the children unto me, again, is something else that has been twisted. I don't think when Jesus was saying in that story that bring bring the children unto me, it's not talking about physical children, it's talking about the perception from the Creator. We are all a child of God, and you all have a son of God inside you, an S-U-N, not an S-O-N. Again, it's been changed. But what is a son? It had something chopped out of it. It's a soul on. The soul, om, like the chant, and on, like with a light. Let there be light. You turn it on. Soul on. Who is wise, who had the King Solomon's mind, the crucible where the Creator, in its fractalized form, a drop of it is in each and every physical being, and also is the sun. The spirit of man must be raised up, because that spirit will resemble a snake or a serpent. It needs to be raised up. That's what the resurrection is all about. That is why the Christ comes out of the Jesus. The G is us, the He is us. Misinterpolation of things, of course, given to you, like everything in this realm, in a very twisted and very backward way. And of course, hiding its true meaning, hiding its true essence, is actually your guidebook for each and every body. But it's like magnetism. The red shift, blue shift, it's always two-way traffic. Christ is a redeemer. What do you do when you redeem something? If something is deemed to be, but you are redeeming, so you are exchanging something. You're exchanging your individual consciousness, this is me, this physical body, this is me, this is all my thoughts, all my opinions, all my beliefs. They're not you. That's the little I. Consciousness, that identity, which again is a concept, a label that has been given to you. That is not the true you. The true you is the essence, the I that is within you. And if you think about it, there's an alignment forming a letter I. In its lowercase form as a letter, it is an I with a dot over it. It is showing you straight there that the pineal gland is detached. You are detached from your true self. But when you go inward, when you capitalize upon yourself, your own capital hill, there is no dot. You are one. You are an I. You are on a solid foundation. You are now in your higher consciousness levels. You're not looking down upon anybody else. You are looking down upon your lower I, because you are internalizing those senses. You are picking up those 5 pebbles in that slingshot. You are throwing away the external beliefs of what is real, and you are coming into your own, is another expression that is used. So are there giants? To go right back to the whole topic of this. Yes, very much so. What there isn't is a perception of giants. But where is it? We always forget to look. It's always the last place we even think to look. Inside us. That term used so often and very rarely explained about doing the inner work, going inside oneself, being the observer of one's thoughts, detaching yourself from your lower I, seeing through your higher I. Dr. Joe Dispenza is another perfect way of explaining this. Well, as usual, it's gone out of my mind. The art of losing oneself, basically. Of losing oneself. when one door closes, another one opens. It's talking about the third ventricle that opens up, that rolls back. You go up and to the right as you're looking at it. Of course, everything's mirrored, isn't it? Everything's in this reality comes out, might be okay on one axis, on the vertical axis, but then on the horizontal axis, it flips over when we look in the mirror. Just have to flip the script, change the polarity, look at what you're seeing it from the perspective of the other. So see it from the perspective of your reflection. What is your left becomes the mirror's right. Another way to show this is if we go to the Muslim religion, Allah, God, Allah, arm, leg, arm, head. But of course, you want to be very careful that you don't change the order of that and start with the head, go to an arm, then down to a leg, then across to an arm, and then down to a leg. It's crisscrossing and changing the order, creating a wrong order, and it becomes halal, which is having the life, the blood drained from it. Halal meat, for example, in a doner kebab. Mind blown yet? Well, don't watch the previous two videos if this blown your minds. But it's of course all metaphor and allegory. I sincerely hope that you are not going to go and blow your brains out, for example. But I do hope that you are mind blown, because it expands your universe. I sort of said about when we look out at the external world and seeing the bigger picture. But of course, do not forget that there is an even bigger picture in your imagination. You set the limits of that imagination of what you feel is right or wrong and what you feel is real or not real. But my God is real. Israel. El is your human outer shell. El is the shell. But the spirit human of that shell is what is cleaved apart, like a seed that splits open. But it is also cleaved unto in this duality realm when you walk with Christ and become one. So love to you all, and we're getting close to 18 minutes. So what have we got there? So 18, 28, so you got what? 40, 46. You've got 74 minutes of video. Go to the simplified gematria, the English ordinal. 74 is the bringer of the lights. Lucifer is also Jesus. It is on a cloud. Is all 74. I'm terribly sorry. I think your channel, Natalie. It's Natalie Verlander on Facebook. It is her channel is Decode the Matrix, I believe. Sorry if I've got your channel name wrong, but you want to see the numeric breakdowns of all these things. But 74, it's an 11. It's getting rid of the one of those 12 disciples that sold you out for 30 pieces of silver. So an 11, there's another meaning apart from just Janus. But when we lie to ourselves, when we do not embrace ourselves, and the external projections we put with what we dress in, and when we're concerned about how the world will see us by what will my neighbours think. I can't say that. What will people think of me if I say that? This type of thing. That's your 11 disciples, and we can be two-faced. When we lie to ourselves, we're not being honest to ourselves, let alone to anybody else, are we? So, another little bit. Mind blown yet? Love to you all, and ta-ta for now.